Welcome everybody, my name is Marcus and today we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman 84. This was directed by Jenkins, who also directed the first Wonder Woman. I really love that movie. I think she did a phenomenal job with the first movie. So today we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly about Wonder Woman 84. So let's start off with the good. Gal Gadot. She is amazing. I will be the first to admit that when I heard that she was going to be casted as Wonder Woman, I questioned it. I was a little unsure of it. I had only seen her in the Fast and the Furious movies, and I thought it was a little odd. I was picturing someone more like Gina Carano to be Wonder Woman. So glad I was wrong. She does a phenomenal job. She is an amazing actress and nails Wonder Woman to the point where I don't think anyone else could be Wonder Woman now. It's just, she's perfect for it. And she did not disappoint in this movie at all. I think she did a really good job. She actually gets to portray herself as Diana a little bit more and not just purely Wonder Woman, which was a different take. I feel like she was able to really show a wider spectrum of emotions. You really connect with her a little bit more. What's different about this one than the first one is that Wonder Woman has been in our world for quite some time now. She's really adjusted and acclimated, and she's had a lot of time to think about losing her love, Steve, and it's really impacted her quite a lot. They have kind of a touching moment in the beginning, kind of showing that she's really established herself, built herself up in this world, become very successful, but you could tell that there's a huge piece missing. She really misses Steve. She's not connected with anyone. She's been basically alone since then. So that's where the movie really starts off. So that really jumps into the next part with Steve. It's no spoiler, the trailer gave it away that Steve does come back in some capacity. I'm not going to spoil everything, but I will say I was pleasantly surprised by how they approached it. The trailer, I was a little disappointed to see, oh, they brought Steve back. I usually don't like when they bring characters back from the dead or anything like that, but I did like how they did it in this movie, and I won't spoil anything. I'll get into some of the spoilers at the end of this video, but I really like what they did, and I think those were some of the best moments of the movie where Diana and Steve together, Chris Pine and Gal Gadot do an amazing job, and they have great on-screen chemistry. So I think those were some of the highlights of the movie, is when they were together in scenes, and it really nailed it in the first movie, and it carried over to this movie as well. So I really like seeing that again. Steve's character is able to bring an emotional level to Diana. He also brings humor to the movie, adds to the action. It's a really great addition to the movie. The next good thing about the movie was Pedro Pascal. As you know, he's the Mandalorian. I love that show. And Pedro Pascal is a great actor, and I think he did an amazing job with the role that he was given. I think he really nailed his character. He goes through a spectrum of emotions and really shows a lot of different perspectives with everything, and I think he plays the villain role very well, and I really liked that aspect of it. I wouldn't say his character was the best, but no fault to him. I think he did as best as he could with the character that he was given based on the plot. I think the actors overall did a really good job. I think Kristen Wiig did a really good job portraying Barbara in the beginning, showing her transformation throughout the movie into Cheetah eventually. So I think she did a good job as well. I think the action sequences, some of them are really cool. I like some of the choreography of it, but to be honest, I would actually shift the action or lack thereof into the bad category. I feel like I was expecting the sequel to kind of ramp up the action, especially with the DC universe. There's quite a lot of action in it. For instance, Batman vs. Superman, even Justice League and Aquaman. There's quite a lot of action. Even Wonder Woman had a lot of action in it. And I felt like this movie didn't quite have enough. It starts really slow, the action's spaced out, and I wanted more. I wanted to see more Wonder Woman in action, and I was definitely disappointed with that. So another thing that I didn't quite like about it, and this is always a risk whenever you make a prequel, is things come up in the movie that don't appear in the quote-unquote sequels, because the prequel was made after the sequel, and so it starts to get a little inconsistent. And they added some things to Wonder Woman, they developed her character, they developed her powers that don't show up, and it's a little confusing. Also, some of the questions or some of the events in this movie, how did they not come up later? It adds a lot of questions, and I feel like this movie had such a big impact. The plot was so big, how did it not impact the future? So I kind of wish it hadn't done that. I feel like it kind of overstepped its boundaries and got a little confusing and ruined some of the continuity. All right, so let's get into the ugly. So first off, quite literally, Cheetah CGI is terrible. It's not as bad as Cats in my opinion, but it's right there. You know, it's really poor. It's blurry. When you do see Cheetah, the final reveal, it's dark. You know, they're trying to hide it. You know, it's very disappointing because I've seen how great CGI can be, and this one just seemed really bad. The other part was some of the other CGI. I don't know if this has anything to do with the post-production with COVID or anything like that. I know the movie was supposed to come out earlier this year, but, you know, some of the CGI was just really bad. It looked so cheesy. And for instance, Wonder Woman running just looked terrible to me. It looked like she was quite literally on wires, running, not touching the ground. It didn't look natural at all. It just looked like she was kind of flailing around in the air, and I was very disappointed. Also, you know, this is a spoiler. I do apologize, but the scene where, you know, she's flying, I feel like it, compared to Man of Steel when he learns how to fly with hers, it just wasn't quite the same at all. It seemed a lot cheesier. I didn't really like it. And going back to what I was saying earlier, I don't recall that she can fly in the newer movies, so it's kind of odd that they had her fly in this one. I know comic accuracy, she can fly, but it was just interesting to add it, and then does she forget how to, or she just doesn't use it anymore? I don't know. It's a little confusing with that. So that part I really was not a fan of. All right, so this is your major spoiler warning. I'm gonna really be talking about the finale. So if you haven't watched the movie yet, you may wanna stop, come back and watch this later after you've seen it. But the finale really bothered me. I really didn't like the payoff of it. Max Lord creates this whole world of destruction. He's really bringing the world to an end at this point, just to kind of consume his power. And the way that Diana overcomes this is to speak to the world and ask them to renounce all of their wishes, which seems extremely unrealistic. You know, you're telling me that every single person that wished for anything is going to renounce it. You know, they definitely showed things that were going to be regrettable, like wishing people would die or the impact of the nukes and all of that. But the little wishes, you really think everyone is going to renounce their wish? It seemed very unrealistic. I did like Max Lord's renouncement. That made sense. Like, he finally saw the impact with his son. I thought that was touching and believable because they really did play on the fact that he really did want to be a good father. He just got super distorted and lost his way. So that was okay with me. But for the rest of the world to renounce it, I don't think so. So for me, if I were to make this movie, I would have changed the beginning of it. And I would have made it so that, you know, Max Lord starts out with the crystal. He's the first one to make that wish. He becomes the crystal. And in order to reverse it, you need to get that initial person to renounce their wish. That would have been more believable. Then you could have done the same finale, but just had him renounce it. And you could have still shown the message of everyone else regretting their decisions with their wishes, but it seems super unrealistic to think everyone renounce. I don't even think Barbara would renounce it. It just didn't make sense to me. So I really didn't like that. Plus, the impact of it. You had a giant wall in Egypt. You had nukes flying. No one's going to be talking about this for years to come. I feel like, you know, Bruce Wayne, Lex Luthor, they should be referencing this huge event. It should be a huge thing that no one ever forgets. And it's not like it was a long time ago or anything. It was just 1984. So that part I didn't like. That's the problem with making a prequel like this and not thinking of the consequences and how it relates to current movies. It didn't make sense. And that was the problem with this movie overall, is I feel like there were just so many questions. I was thinking, well, how does that work? Why did the nukes disappear? But then some of the things stayed. You know, the certain impacts of it just didn't make sense. I was confused with what happened to the body that Steve took over. You know, they don't really explain that. I was just like, well, like, did he just lose out on that time of his life? It was just, they forced it with the plot point. I didn't like it. Overall, there's definitely moments that I liked in the movie. It's not a terrible movie by any means, but it was disappointing. I think the first one did an amazing job, and I wanted the second one to really develop and carry on from that, but I feel like they took a step back with it. It definitely wasn't the worst DC movie by any means, and it's worth watching. There's definitely enjoyable moments, but I feel like this movie became more of like a theoretical movie. I got the message of it, but unfortunately, it just seemed kind of like a mess along the way. It was also rather slow for an action movie, so I was definitely disappointed by that. But I think Gal Gadot is amazing as Wonder Woman, and I hope she continues to be Wonder Woman. I'm excited about the Snyder Cut to kind of see how they carry on with that, and I hope they continue with this universe. It'd be such a waste to lose Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman because she's perfect. I think the casting overall with the DC universe is really good. They just need to kind of execute the movies a little bit better. All right, that wraps up today's video. I hope you did like it. If you did enjoy it, please give me a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. That way I can keep making content for you guys. If you guys have seen the movie, let me know what your favorite parts are, what your least favorite parts are, any thoughts about it. I'd love to discuss in the comments. All right, thank you guys. Have a great day.